Good afternoon, friends. Enoch Epps here again with Car Specialists of America. Today we have a 2015 Hyundai Sonata with a 2.5, I believe it is. Non-turbo, naturally aspirated. Beautiful car. We get a phone call that says that has a few lights on in the dash. We'd like to know what's wrong with it. We came out initially with our OTC scanner to diagnose it, discovered that the vehicle is a 2015. The OTC that we have is only good up to 2013. So we went and got the all-tail scanner, the Maxi DOS. This is the MS, I think 708 or 708 is the numbers. We ran a diagnostic test on the airbag system, the ABS system. We haven't done the engine yet. We were able to erase the engine codes yesterday with the OTC in the global setting, but we weren't able to access the ABS module or the SRS module. So today, what I discovered in the airbag module, or the code was for the right front passenger impact sensor. I think it was a B13340 or something like that. I have to go back and look it up because I'm starting the video after running the diagnostic scan, but I should have done it beforehand. Nevertheless, and I'll probably run through it again to show you where this information is and how it can be accessed with this scanner. That's not, I even think that this scanner, I don't know that it goes up to 2015, but what I do know is that you have the ability to input the VIN number, and then the scan tool can run the check based on the VIN number, and it does identify what vehicle it is after you hit the OK and the VIN number has been inputted. Nevertheless, so I'll go back to the airbag module and tell you what we actually found. Here is the ABS module to find out why the codes are coming up for it, because here's what we have in the dash. Let's see, let's remove the scanner. In the dash, this is what we have. This is what we got going on. Vehicle, look at our RPM gauge. We look at our SRS light. We have the mileage at 107, which is roughly say 108. We have the ABS and the skid control, or traction control. Different manufacturers call it different things, but essentially the same principle for the most part. And then we have our gas gauges and of course our speedometer. So the reason why I mentioned everything in the instrument cluster, oh, we also have the eco light on, but I think that's the eco has been selected. Drive mode has been selected into eco. The reason that I mentioned all of these, everything in the dash, including and I forgot to say the temperature light, but the temperature, tachometer, speedometer, fuel gauge, as well as the mileage even, and even the park sign, everything. This is your first window into something, into what the engine or what the vehicle is actually doing, whether there's a problem. Your first window. So for example, we noticed the block around the power, around the P, that is the park, that is the gear selector, it telling us, the readout telling us where the gear selector, the position of the gear selector is in. So now we know it's in park, but it also has a block around it. So just imagine if that didn't have a block around it and it's supposed to. That tells us that there's a problem in the transmission, or the transmission control module is reading something from one of the output sensors that suggests there's a problem. Or some manufacturers, that P will flash, it may turn a different color, it may turn amber, it may turn green, it may turn red. So different things may happen that will tell you that there's a problem somewhere that you may not be aware of. The only thing you can see is that there's a check engine light on. So as a technician working on a vehicle like this, if you've had any extensive training and or experience, you recognize that this is your first window into the engine, transmission, HVAC, all different types of functions on the vehicle. This is your first window into where a problem may be. This is your first glimpse at where you may have a problem. So just something to always keep in mind. And again, this portion of the video is for our university section of our YouTube channel for Car Specialists of America. So getting back to what we're diagnosing today, again, we have our SRS light on, our ABS, and our traction control, skid control, whatever you want to call it for this particular manufacturer. I think it's traction control. So looking at the ABS, when we access this portion of this module, the ABS traction control, skid control module, we're able to see text, graph, merge, analog. Useful for different parts of the diagnosis. But one of the things we're going to look at is, for example, it says vehicle speed. It's 0. That matches with what the speedometer says. We're only going 0, and I know that we're going 0 because I'm sitting in the car with the car in park. So if it said anything other than that, we got a problem. Next thing is throttle position. Says it's at 0.0%. That's not bad. Shift lever positions in park or neutral. The computer reads both of them the same way. Battery voltage 14.3. Wheel speed sensor left front 0, which makes sense because the car isn't moving. Wheel speed sensor right front says 0. Again, makes sense. Wheel speed sensor left rear, it says 157. Wheel speed sensor right rear says 157 miles per hour. So according to this, the car is lifted up in the rear off its rear tires, and the rear wheels are spinning 157 miles per hour. Now, if you look at the speedometer for one, again, it's at 0, maxes out at 160 miles per hour. This car is really going fast while sitting still. Only though on its rear wheels. I know for a fact that that's not the case. And just to verify, this is where we are right now in real time. The tires are sitting on the ground. So what I think it's fair to deduce is that the car is not, the rear wheels at least are not moving 157 miles per hour. What I also know is that it's highly unlikely and highly improbable that both wheel sensors have failed at the same time, and then also that they have the same reading. So what this suggests to me is that the circuit is open, and that suggests to me that it's been unplugged. They probably share a common plug. They come off of each wheel sensor respectively, but when they come together, they come off of one joint plug, and that has been unplugged. I'll come back to that in a moment, because so we'll go back to the SRS light. Notice there, if you look between the bottom of the scanner and the steering wheel, you see right there, you have an airbag light that's on. Okay, so I'm gonna attempt to go back on the scanner to show you how we found this problem. Going to escape again, going to escape again. We're going to go down to the airbag. It says airbag event 1, airbag event 2. We're just going to choose 1 because the only thing we really want to see are the codes. Read codes. So we're going to read the codes. There's the code. B133400 says that the code is active. It says that the front impact sensor passenger communication error. I can save it, print it, or escape. So for me, I said, okay, let's go look at the code. Now let's go look at the sensor. Visual inspections are extremely important. I know some people overlook them. They see a code, they go, they buy a sensor, they replace it, and they're like, oh, well, I guess I didn't fix it. Years of doing this and even making mistakes has told me the importance of doing a visual inspection. A visual inspection is probably about 50% of your diagnosis, if not more, because oftentimes you'll look and you'll save yourself diagnostic time simply because you did a visual inspection. So what I initially started doing was I came in here and I started taking these push tabs out, peeled this back, but it's connected to the bumper. So I wasn't able to pull it back completely to find the location of the sensor. I thought it was down here on the rail here, the part of the unibody construction here, what we probably called back in the day a frame, but it's not anymore. I thought it would be on that, because that's usually attached to the bumper guard, or the bumper reinforcement, and then the guard, so a bumper reinforcement. So what I did was I tried to feel around underneath there on both sides. I couldn't see it. This is the driver's side, and this is the passenger side. I couldn't feel it, but I had already looked up some information, and it said, and I overlooked it, forgot about it when I stepped out here into the front of the vehicle, that this sensor is actually underneath, right there by the radiator. So there's your passenger side. I'm going to assume that the driver's side is somewhere, should be yep, there. See that yellow tab there? There it is. All right. So that's your driver's side impact sensor. This is your passenger side impact sensor. So what I did was I thought immediately, first of all, let me inspect. I noticed that it's plugged in. So either the sensor is bad, or we have, again, we have a communications issue. Either the sensor is bad or the harness has been compromised in some way. So I started following the harness. It goes from there, starts to come right there, which is, I think, this one right here. Comes all the way down, as you notice, there it is. And it comes to a connection point right there. Okay. Look out of the back, you have these two wires here. Harness runs underneath there. And as it goes around about right there. This was the one I think I noticed first. And I was like, what is that? That's uncommon that that insulation would be pulled back, or peeled back, ripped at any rate. Then I noticed right there. I'm gonna expand it. See that there? That's where the problem is. You got a wire that's been compromised. The integrity of the wire has been compromised, and so right now we have a short. So it goes right in line with our communication issue. There's a proper procedure for fixing that. You don't just go underneath there and pull that apart and start, soldering and connecting or putting butt connectors there. You'll have a bigger problem than you want, possibly a bigger problem than you want. But again, that goes right in line with our code. Let's minimize this a little bit. Is front impact sensor passenger communication error. Again, this is one of the reasons why tools like this are essential. But again, I've said it dozens of times that if you don't know something about how a system works, this tool would be like looking at hieroglyphics. If you don't have a history on what the people who wrote the hieroglyphics or painted them mean, then you can misinterpret data all the time. So again, this could have been easily someone went and got a front impact sensor, went and bought it, went to change it. They could actually cause more damage than a little bit, and we'll get into that later in our university side, our Patreon side perhaps. But the facts are, this is why tools like this are useful, and knowing something about how the system actually works. When we take I don't know how much is involved in finding out where the common, I'm gonna have to try to look up a wiring diagram and what we call a sensor location map schematic to find out where junction points, where wires come together, junction points for wiring harnesses come together, to find out if we can find where that problem is coming from, where the disconnection is, where it's actually located. So what we're going to do is we're going to sign out for now. We're going to come back later and see if we can find this out.